And then I want to thank, first of all, Jamal Noor and all her staff for this invitation and for the, more than the quantity, the quality of the work that you can enjoy with us. Thanks. Okay, then I will try to explain to you the need of interpretation nowadays through the master Ibn Masarra, the predecessor and the master of Ibn Arabi. Abrahamic tradition, or the so-called religion of the book, constituted by the very nature of the discourse and their conception of the uninspired word, a constant appeal to thought and interpretation. Ibn Masarra of Córdoba, 883 to 931 AD, is content, as we know in the light of his works discovered in 1872, among the great Andalusian predecessors of Ibn Arabi, who have written about the right and the duty of interpreting and reflecting on the meaning of the universe. With Ibn Masarra, there emerges in Al-Andalus in the 3rd century of the Hijra the first non-mystic tradition which establishes in the Iberian Peninsula a line of continuity of recognized transmission. This enabled subsequent Andalusian Sufis, such Ibn Arabi of Murcia, whose various works clearly value Andalusi Sufism so much, as well Shustari of Imara, to include Ibn Masarra among the great masters, and he died in his house in the foothills of the Sierra of Córdoba on the 931 AD. Although sufficient sources and collection of biographic works gather data and news about Ibn Masarra, mainly the Tarikh of Ibn al-Faradi, the Muktabas by Ibn Hajjam, and then in the 3rd century, the Takmila by Ibn al-Abbar, very little in reality is known of his life. In any case, I have already written about this in another place, and this is not the matter that occupies us now. I will deal here in particular with the manner in which the Master of Córdoba writes on reflection and the relationship between reason and revelation in his Risala al-I'tibar. The epistle of interpretation of As-Denigrir, as is with us, very adequately translates in a recent article the epistle of transposition. A preliminary reflection on the epistle of interpretation, Risala al-I'tibar. I do not propose here in this few reflections, of course, to summarize or reproduce the content of the Risala al-I'tibar. The intention of this page is only to proffer some personal consideration, references and keys to reading which inspire to draw attention to concrete instances of some particularly meaningful passages, especially in the introduction and part of the conclusion of his writing with relation of the need for i'tibar, the need for transposition as a way. The epistle of interpretation is basically an exposure of the purpose of the human being in creation, his cognitive function. Human beings can only comprehend God's signs by means of the interpretation of God's revelation. The process of perfecting interpretation or reflection, i'tibar, on the meaning of the all beings guides a purified and inspired understanding up to the knowledge of primary truths, of the divine unity, and of the mystery of the transcendent essence. In this Risala, the author in his role as guide, as a spiritual master, addresses himself to his interlocutor, be he real or rhetorical, in the latter's role as a disciple. In the case of Ibn Masarra, we are possibly dealing with one of his companions at the Sierra of Córdoba who must have had with him a relation of suhba, a spiritual companionship, and turned to his teachings in all types of situations, like a normal relationship between master and disciple. I think that there is an important implied question in the initial inquiries of Ibn Masarra's companion about the correspondence between the revelation and the inspired rational interpretation or transposition. Should the believer involve himself in the reflection of the Quranic revelation, on its meaning, on its applications and consequences, or must he conform by imitation with the model and the proposal of the learned imams and interpreters whom tradition has accredited? In this early epistle, this important question, Ibn Masarra not only proposed the advisability of interpretation, but he also indicated the obligation that the divine command expressed in the Quran, Muslims of whatever have to reflect on the sign of creation and the sign of the scriptures. There is the inescapable responsibility of interpreting personally, with due effort of preparation and reflection, the word which God has addressed to the heart of each human being. In short, interpretation is a personal and non-transferable exercise, a hermeneutic voyage into the revelation that is not to be delegated, although certainly a journey in which the pilgrim necessarily follows the step of the prophet. The descent of revelation and the ascent of contemplation. This is another main subject in the Risala al-İtibar. The correspondence which, as much the interlocutor as the author, established between the descent of revelation and the inverse ascent of rational contemplation involves the idea of a return journey, a double stairway, or better still, a bidirectional stairway. God brings all things into existence in a way that, coming from the above of the non-manifest, they descend to that of manifestation. From the realm of pure possibility, the subsistent images come into existence in the dimension of accidents, and then, according to the Quranic expression, they return to God and rise again towards concealment in their return journey. God reveals, that is to say, makes His word descend in Zal, Tanzil, and makes living things descend, manifesting themselves in creation. These are His mysterious signs, ayat. On the one hand, all the created beings, and on the other, the verses of the sacred book.